And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another edition to the final qualifier for the AfreecaTV Champions Cup number 2. I'm of course your host, VIP, and with me I'm joined by the lovely chat, of course, over on the AfreecaTV chat channel. And as I mentioned, this is the final qualifier for this event. Not just that, but this is the global qualifier, so it is open to all regions, regardless of where you live, where you are. Korea, Europe, Oceania, Southeast Asia, North America, Latino America as well. It is open to everyone, and the bracket is stacked. Exclamation mark! Be in the chat if you guys don't have a look at the bracket yourselves, as we have our first matchup. And so, actually, I don't think we actually have that command on Africa. But regardless, this morning in the bottom left-hand corner of Royal Blood, we have the Chinese Zerg player, the Teal Zerg, representing the Starving Camels. It is Silky. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing Team Abydos. It's the one true Don. It is DRG. Vamonos, papi, vamonos. And we were live earlier today with the Tenacious Turtle Tussle, of course, our own regional bi-weekly event. We were of course running that, but on top of that, we actually decided to skip out on and miss the KSL as we have a bunch of casting to do today, and I was felt like sleep was somewhat important, at least somewhat. So we are going to be catching up with the KSL with a replay cast in a couple of days. We'll be covering all of that KSL action that we did miss this week. Meanwhile, right after this cast, right after this qualifier, we have the World Team League. We have the WTL that is going to be casted over on Twitch, not on Africa. So we are going to be switching platforms. I say that Kuro and Asher are going to be going live immediately as soon as WTL does begin. I'll be catching up with them once this qualifier ends, because this qualifier will most likely go a little bit longer. This qualifier will most likely go into WTL, so I'll have you covered there. We'll have you covered. As for the time being, hatch gas pool all around. Nothing too crazy here in this opener. And we can go over the bracket a little bit later on, just because the bracket is so massive, it's so stacked, it's so big, it's so beautiful. We'll get there. Oh my god, as Silky is doing something quite crazy here. Would you have a Link Scout coming in from DRG? He's going to try and figure out what's going on. It looks like he will not be denied entry into the main. He scouts the insanely fast lair coming out from Silky. Of course, Silky, with this fast lair, he can go into something like 2-base Muta, he can go into 2-base Roach, which is most likely what he's going to be doing. Regardless, DRG is aware that his opponent is going to be staying on 2 bases. That's what this means. It means 2-base play from Silky, as well as higher tech. With this DRG, he's going to be able to take an economic advantage. He takes his 3rd base, he can drone, he can saturate. He can skip his Bailey Nest, which he did do. He canceled the Bailey Nest, goes straight to a Roach Warren as well, because Bailings would be useless in this situation, and DRG responds with his own lair. I really appreciate this. So because of this faster lair from DRG, the window where his opponent has Roach speed and he doesn't is much shorter. It's going to be a very short window here where Silky has that advantage. And oh, it is going to be 2-base Muta. The gases have been taken. 3rd base, not too far behind his opponents, and the Spire is thrown down. So this is going to be really risky out of Silky. DRG, we'll see if he can piece it all together. Because of his own Roach Warren timing, because of his own lair timing, he should be able to hit with quite a lot of Roaches momentarily. DRG is working towards a timing with +1 range. And for the time being, he needs to figure out what's going on. There we go. The Overseer is diving into the main base. DRG trying to figure out what the tech is, and he will come across the Spire. Spire has been scattered. Spire has been spotted. DRG knows. And what will he do with that information? He throws down a very fast Hydra then. Interesting. So Roach Hydra is going to be on the menu here for DRG. He's droning and saturating his bases as we speak. He made a couple of safety Roaches, of course, just to make sure he didn't die suddenly to something crazy, and has been saturating his 3rd base. And upon seeing that Spire, he knows that he's safe to drone. He knows that there isn't going to be a Roach push coming via the ground. Oh, sweet. Kill that tumor. But he knows that there isn't a Roach push coming, so he can be greedy. He can take all of his gases, take his, of course, 3rd and 4th gas. or 4th and 5th gas even. And yeah, we already have the Hydras in production. So mutas are going to be coming out, but they already got scouted. And yeah, they get scouted again with that changeling as well. So Silky is fully aware that these mutas, they're not going to do too much damage. He can't go mass muta either. He's looking for map control. He's looking to clean up these overlords. Outside of that, oh, we're going to have to get rid of that. This is no longer the Tenacious Turtle Tussle Puppy, but that's a very beautiful turtle. It's very cute. It's amazing. But because he knows that he got scouted, he's only making a handful of mutas. 5 mutas can one-shot a drone, so that is what they are for. And of course, take down the overlords as well. But the Hydras have arrived, and with the arrival of these Hydras, yeah, the mutas are going to be forced back. And Silky is on the back foot. Silky spent a lot of resources taking up in a really awkward direction that didn't really pay off, but he's going for a 2-base all-in. Silky has not saturated his base whatsoever, and oh god, he's going to be setting a massive wave of roaches across the map. How many do we have at home to defend? For DRG, he is down to half the roach count of his opponent. He doesn't quite know what's going on. The mutas did clear a path to make sure that this did not go scouted. The mutas dive into the main. They distract the Hydras. Meanwhile, Roach Ravager being morphed in. The Ravagers are going to be spotted by DRG. He now knows what's going on. But he's supply blocked. Uh-oh. DRG is supply blocked. He's in a bit of trouble. Silky's pushing on in, and I don't know if DRG is going to have enough to really hold on here. We have Silky with the better concave. He has an even upgrade count at this point. The mutas are trying to get involved as well. They're trying to add their own DPS. The Queens are coming in clutch with their transfuse. Oof. And it looks like just barely DRG holds. He does force back Silky. Despite the supply block. Despite the fact that, he just didn't see this coming at all until the last second, he is still holding. Just barely. Oh god, that poor changeling, as we do have a couple of reinforcements trickling on in for Silky, but the Hydras do so much in the back line. The Queens as well. And Silky's forced back. Silky now behind in the tech, behind in the economy, behind in almost every other aspect. He was all in. Without winning the game then and there, he's in a really rough position. DRG is going to be able to push on forward, clear out these overlords. Look to rebuild. Remax is working on Borrow. He's working on tunneling claws as well, because why the hell not? Ay, ay, ay. And yeah, how can Silky come back from this game? I mean, if he suddenly went back into mutas, I think that would be okay. Of course, there aren't that many Hydras, so if a push did come across the map, the mutas could kill the Hydras and then take out the Ravagers and make this a really awkward push for DRG. Gold base is being taken. Another good way to come back. Trying to capitalize on the fact that there's a gold on this map. Here we go, the army pushing out once again. This time DRG is hitting with +2. +2 range. Overlords go down. Oof. And yeah, with this army, it looks like DRG should have too much. He's going to take a bile to the face with those Ravagers, but I was able to avoid the majority of them. He's able to step forward and get on top of the Ravagers, break the natural. GG gets called, and DRG takes game number 1. Whew. Not the easiest game, though. He did bleed a little bit there, so yeah, really well done by Silky for trying to catch his opponent off guard and catch him with his pants down. Was unable to do so in the end, but it was close. It was quite close. Very impressed. Very impressed. GG, well played. And with that, we are going to be continuing on here. Also, I'm kind of glad I didn't go for other series. I'm quickly just double checking, and yeah, there are certain matches that had walkovers, which is a shame. It's a shame. Oh. There were some walkovers. We can of course go over that once we do wrap up the series. We'll go over the bracket once we wrap up. As we get into game número 2. Oh, and I should take a moment to fix this. Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh, and I just realized my light wasn't on. I was like, why am I in the dark? Ah, I see. I see. As we are getting into game number 2 of this best of 3 series, and spawning in the bottom left hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have the Chinese Zerg player representing the Starving Camels. SSLT, it is Silky. Should fix that. There we go. And spawning in the top right hand corner of Ancient Cistern, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Zerg player representing Team Abydos. Ooh. Currently leading the series 1-0. It is DRG. The one true dog himself. Let us go. We saw Silky be a little bit cheeky going for that fast lair into mutas into a 2-base all-in that for the most part was unscattered. That was almost the ideal scenario for Silky. It wasn't just unscattered, DRG also got supply blocked. But for that to not come to pass, for that to fall in its face, that doesn't bode well here for game number 2. It doesn't bode well when it comes to trying to catch DRG off guard with an all-in like that. I do think that we have to go for something a little bit different. And we'll see. We'll see if Silky goes to 2-base play again, or if he does go for much more standard 3rd-base timing instead. Catching up with the chat. This song always brings back memories for me. I know, like, it's so nostalgic listening to the Brood War. Recently, I've been playing the Brood War soundtrack whenever we're waiting, whenever there's the countdown screen. It's so good. It is so good. Maybe one of these days I'll mix it up and I'll listen to the StarCraft 2 soundtrack. I haven't. There's some good songs, definitely, but the Brood War soundtrack is a classic, absolute classic. Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong. As we are getting into game number 2, and yeah, for the time being, nothing too crazy. Hatch gas pool. Link speed is on the way for Silky. Meanwhile, across the map, DRG getting into its own link speed as well. And after game 1, I'm sure DRG is going to be going for his own 3rd base at a reasonable time. Really, my eyes are on Silky to see how he mixes things up, to see if he brings something different to the table. Ancient Cistern is a larger map, a lot of bases to be taken, wide open spaces as well. And yeah, he is in fact going for that 3rd base. You love to see it. 3rd base on the way for both players. DRG is going to confirm that as well, especially after what happened in game 1. Wants to make sure that everything is on the up and up. Silky throws down his own Bailey Nest, and DRG shouldn't be too far behind with his own as well. And now, we are getting into some Ling Bane action. Potentially. We'll keep an eye on the production tab to see if either one of these players decides to be the aggressor. For the most part, they both want to drone, they both want to saturate their 3rd base, but at any moment, they could make an influx of Lings, go across the map, and try to deny the 3rd base of the other opposing player. And we have a couple of defensive Lings on the way here for DRG, but they're only defensive Lings. Still mainly droning. Still mainly saturating his bases. Once the Bailey Nest does finish up, he should be able to morph in some defensive Bailings as well. There we go. Bailing on the way. We don't want to morph in too many. We don't want to be wasting too much of that gas. Speaking of, Silky doesn't make a single Bailing. He goes straight into that Roach Warrant. There we go, 1 Bailing on the way. Silky transitioning very quickly here out of Ling Bane. And I believe that was scattered by DRG. I believe, yes, he did see the Roach Warren as it was thrown down. For the time being, he's not really too concerned. There we go, goes for a later Roach Warren. Droning. Nothing too crazy. Oh. Oof, we can see Silky with his control does bait out that Bailing. Very nicely done. At the same time, DRG goes across the map. He's going to get a full scout on the main base, confirms the lack of lair, the lack of additional gases. Confirms that nothing too crazy is going on. But a bit of a better trade early on for Silky just to snipe that Bailing. Meanwhile, Roach is already in production. We have a almost a Carapace. We have an Evo Chamber on the way. This, I imagine, is going to be for +1 Carapace. Would make sense for Silky to go for that timing, for that essentially all-in. Roaches have been spotted. DRG recognizes that. He throws down some defensive spine crawlers. He knows he has the Roach disadvantage. Yeah, it does confirm the roach is coming his way. And DRG is in a bit of a difficult position. Silky is actually going for +1 range behind this. Okay, interesting. So he does push on forward. Yeah, he threatens his opponent and he's going to back off instead. I appreciate this from Silky. He has been focusing on droning, is taking his gases. Really, he was kind of feigning an attack. He was pushing forward, threatening his opponent, trying to force DRG to cut workers, and it worked. But did it? Because DRG is actually cutting workers really early on. He's cut workers at 46. Now he is making his own links to counterattack. He's pushing out across the map. There is no lair, by the way. He's going for his own hatch tech all in. Pure Ling, pure Roach, no upgrades, no lair, no Roach speed, no nothing. Oh boy. Here we go, the Banelings are on the way. DRG looking to push on forward. Does he have enough Roaches to really deal with this? The Banelings are going to connect. Good connections on the Roaches of Silky. We have more Banelings where that came from as well. We have links to reinforce, nothing but links to reinforce. And DRG is breaking into the third base. Silky just unable to really read the worker count of his opponents. The drones are going to be going down. The Banelings find so many connections. Oh god, no! As the drones bunch up. Oh, and the mineral line goes down. The third base has been broken and DRG is headed towards the natural as well. The Roach Warren is exposed. We're not going to quite go for the Roach Warren. We go for the hatchery instead. DRG going for the secure damage. And as the Roaches expose themselves, he ignores the hatchery and he goes straight for the army. Surrounds the Roaches, cleans everything up. Again, DRG was just able to pull this off without being scouted at all. GG. 1G? 1G. As DRG takes the series 2-0, advancing on to the next round. GG. Well played. Congratulations to Dongregu. Very solid performance. Game 1, DRG was the defender. Game 2, he was the aggressor. Game 2, he chose not to make a lair. He chose not to throw down additional Evo chambers, cut workers, and went for one big push. Roaches and links to reinforce, even with Banelings to help support him as well. Meanwhile, Silky, he was feigning aggression, but what Silky wasn't doing is he wasn't checking the third. He wasn't scouting the bases, whether it's the main or the third base of DRG, to see if there was a lair, to see if he was even droning, because DRG wasn't. He was not droning at all. So Silky just was unable to recognize what his opponent was up to, and by the time he did, was a little bit too late, was a little bit too greedy. GG. Well played, well played. Congratulations, and yeah, with that, we are going to be getting into the next round. We could take this moment to have a look at the bracket.